So sometimes we have to have those conversations with our referral sources. And sometimes you have to sit down and say, this is our focused client. This is the kind of client that we're looking for. And this kind of client we don't want. It doesn't fit our profile. When you had that referral come in, did you feel like you were one of three? Or did you feel like you were the only one? What is the difference, folks, if you're competing for a piece of business and you're the sole source? There's a huge difference in those two, isn't there? When there's no competition involved, you feel pretty bold. There's less fee pressure. Yes?
You know, I always pretend I'm the only one.
Whether or not you're not?
Whether I am or not.
Yeah.
Even if it's a bid, I always pretend I'm the only one. And I also give the bids to my partner. And but when I'm one-on-one with people, I always pretend I'm the only one. I know it helps me. It helps me have a better attitude about the whole thing. It's not like, oh gosh, I got to do a dog and pony show. They're going to go price bid this out. Blah, blah, blah. Just kind of an attitude.
Here's a money-making tip for you. One of these early ones that we're going to talk about today. So I'll give you several that will make you immediate money from today. The next 3 referrals that you get in, I want you to give them a price that's 25% above what you think it's going to be. Price it out at a premium of 25% more. So if you think it's going to be a $10,000 engagement, add 25% to that. So price it out at $12,500. Why? If they're already sold and they walk in the door, they're pre-qualified, you don't have competition, there's no fee pressure or low fee pressure. Go ahead and price it out. You can always move down if they say, well, that's too much. But if your tendency is you feel so good about getting the referral, and you price it at $8,000 instead of $12,500, you'll never work it back up to $10,000. So always start higher and come down if you have to. No written proposals, high closing ratio. Think about, ladies and gentlemen, the power of these referrals. These referrals will perpetuate your firm. I think a referral to a new prospect is often better than actually having an expansion of existing client business. An expansion of the existing client business, those are, just growing that one client is good. But when you get more clients, more A and B clients into the firm, that broadens your base. Who's the best source for a referral?
Happy customer.
Good clients. We like to say delighted clients. Delighted clients are the best source. You can have satisfied clients, but think about it this way. If you went to a wonderful restaurant and had a satisfactory experience, how many people would you really tell about that? But if you had a delightful experience. So that's what we're looking for. What have we done to create client delight and raving fans? The delighted client will say, you need to go to this firm, you need to go see them, you can trust these guys, they will do you a great job. Attorneys are good, we found. Tax attorneys, commercial attorneys, bankers are good. The ones that work in the commercial lending departments, those are great referral sources. Surety agents, former clients' former employees. I bet most of you can think about an employee leaving one of your clients and going somewhere else and taking you with them. That's a great source. And so those are people that I would encourage my staff members to get to know. And I would make sure I take time. If my client has a number of executives, I want to get to know all those executives. They might be in operations, they might be in manufacturing, they might be in scientific, they might be in creative, they might be somewhere else. They might not be in finance, but I want to get to know them. Because sometimes those people go off and start their own businesses. And if I've done a good job, they'll take me with them. So these are great referral sources. We found other CPAs to be good. The large ones, much larger than you, are great ones because they'll send you business. And the ones that are much smaller than you will send business up. We've just found that if you'll develop referral sources of other CPA firms that are larger or much smaller than you, you can create a cross-referral relationship. And so for those of you in a market where you are a sole practitioner or a small firm, go visit some of these large firms around because they will send you clients that are too small for them and will be the right size for you. Why don't clients refer us? Well, the main reason is we typically don't ask them. That's one of the keys, is that we find a way to ask them for a referral. Now, when we do the academy, we take an entire day to talk about this and how you ask different people and different ways to develop referral systems in your firm. We talk about asking people directly. We talk about asking them indirectly. We talk about developing a series of prospects and sitting down with your attorney friend or your banker friend and say, here are some businesses we'd like to do business with. Do you know anyone? Would you introduce us to someone here? So there's a variety of ways to ask. So if we don't ask, we're probably not going to get. Many people are focused on their own business. They didn't come in today thinking about, well, how am I going to improve Daniel's business today? They're thinking about their own business. So, you've got to break that thought pattern and get them to think about you. Sometimes they don't even think that you need the business. So they just don't think about it. It just doesn't occur to them. So if you're there, if you give them a reason to think about it, they will. They sometimes don't think you want more business. That's one of the big issues that we find, is that we have this badge of honor whenever someone says, how's business? With you, Jim, you say, oh, gee, I'm business. I'm overwhelmed. I got too much to do. Well, if they're your friend, I'm not going to send you more business. I don't want to bother you. You have clients ever say, are you all taking on new clients these days? Right away, you've been giving off the perception that you really don't want the business, that you're too busy for it. Many of you might know Chris Frederickson, who lives in this area. And Chris has always said, tell them something like this: business is great and I'm looking for more. Don't tell them you're overwhelmed. Don't tell them you're busy. Take that out of your vocabulary if you possibly can. They're not aware of your range of services. That's a big issue. They've got you pegged at whatever it is you're doing for him or her. If you're doing an audit, you're doing a financial statement, you're doing QuickBooks, you're doing a tax return preparation, you're doing individual work, they may not think you do corporate work. So you want to show them your range of services. It's just like going to a great restaurant and not seeing the entire menu. They always tell you about their specials. There's always something off the menu, but they always show you the entire menu as well. So find ways that you can cover the entire menu of services. Now, that's something you can do on some of these visits that you're going to make. For example, you can say to your client, Jim, you may never have an interest in this and you may never need it, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about some exciting things we've been doing for some other clients of ours. It could be organizational planning, employee search, IT services, R&D tax studies, cost segregation, and any of those kinds of things that's interesting, you could talk to them about. And of course, they just think you're overworked, or the worst thing, they cannot be pleased with you. That could be one of the big reasons they're not giving you new clients. So the challenge for us is to look back over those A and B clients. And I'm not going to ask you to hold your hands up, but I want you to think about the answer to this question. Have all those A clients of mine, in other words, the top 5% of my clients, in the last 3 years have they given me a referral? Has someone come as a result of those people talking about me? If they haven't, then you may want to do what you can to remedy that. Now, one of the things that we put on a situation like we're talking about today is, what are some of the marketing methods that are not effective? So I want to talk to you about the least effective business development methods that we've seen. And the first one is advertising. We've just found that advertising is not very effective for accounting firms. And the reason for this is most advertising is broadcast advertising. And if you look at a marketplace like the Bay Area with millions of residents in this area, I mean, if you're going to do broadcast advertising, it's going to be overwhelmingly expensive for you. Quite frankly, for what you do, there's probably less than 2,000 or 3,000 people that you really need to interact with. It's very hard to find an advertising venue that fits that. So advertising, we like to think less than 5% of our total marketing and sales budget would be in advertising. The second thing that's very ineffective are small charitable events. These kinds of things are, we spread people out. 2 people go there, 1 person goes here. We like to put all of our eggs in one basket. So if you're a smaller firm, do something together, really make a big impact on that one charitable event. Get some publicity for it so that you're out there in the community giving back, but you're doing it as a firm, as a coordinated activity, and you'll get more recognition than if you spread it out. Partner perks, like golf memberships, luncheon club memberships, particularly if those partner perks are not being used for business development. If I've got a golf membership and I'm including that as part of my marketing budget, and I play with the same foursome twice a week, not doing much good. You need to rotate that around, use it a different way. But they can be effective if you use them effectively. Then, of course, Chamber of Commerce memberships, or memberships with anything for that matter. Just being a member and not showing up, you could be labeled as a no-show. If you're going to be a member of something, be active and engaged in it, and find a way to get in there and be known as a doer, and don't volunteer to be the treasurer. They always ask you to be the treasurer. Get on the new member committee. Get on a place where you can get introduced to people and get prospects out of it. Fancy brochures. This has really gone away as a result of the internet, because today what we can do with our internet, with our web presence, is put our brochure there and have it designed there and have an electronic brochure that's easily changed. But then we do want to have maybe some small things, some leave behinds. One of the biggest mistakes that we still see people do is we package up everything about our firm and hand it to somebody. And this just happened to me by someone in an accounting firm about 2 weeks ago. They have a wealth management service. They wanted to come see me and tell me about it. So she brought me this whole packet of stuff, and she said, here is our material on our wealth management services. If you get one night where you can't sleep, you might open this up and take a look at it, because it'll certainly put you to sleep. What did she just do? She just destroyed the entire investment that they had in that material, as opposed to walking me through some things that might be important to me